October 22nd, 2024. Tallahassee, Florida. A pregnant woman confronts her boyfriend about a like he left on his ex-girlfriend's bikini photo. A simple social media interaction. The kind of thing that happens in relationships every single day. They argue. She demands her phone back. He grabs his gun. Minutes later, 26-year-old Maya Johnson is lying on the floor, shot in the torso, her unborn child dying with her. Her 2 young sons are in the next room. The man who pulled the trigger? 22-year-old Jakari Martin. The same man who had choked her before. The same man police had been called on twice in the past 6 months. He calls 911, claims it was an accident, says the gun went off while tucked under his arm. But the forensics tell a different story, and Maya's blood is on his hands. This is the story of Maya Johnson, a mother, an entrepreneur, a woman who died over a like. Disclaimer. Before we continue, this case involves descriptions of domestic violence, gun violence, and murder. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. One thing about me, I'm a boss. I don't know what you is, but I'm a boss. I don't know how you working or who you working for, but I'm the boss. That was Maya Johnson, confident, ambitious, full of life. She was a content creator, a traveling lash technician, a businesswoman who sold menswear and hustled across multiple jobs. But more than anything, she was a mother to 2 young boys, Caden and DJ, her world. And on October 22nd, 2024, she was also pregnant with her 3rd child. That night, she checked her boyfriend's phone and found something that made her blood boil. A like on another woman's picture, the same ex-girlfriend who had been a problem before. She confronted him, and he killed her for it. If you're here for true crime that exposes how domestic violence escalates from control to murder, hit that subscribe button. We bring you new cases every single day. Real stories, real warnings. Real victims who deserved better. Let's talk about who Maya Johnson was before jealousy and rage took her life. Maya Johnson was born on August 29th, 1998. She had an energetic, radiant personality and came from a large, loving family. One of 7 siblings, Maya was especially close to her mother, who she credited with instilling in her a tireless work ethic and unwavering resilience. Her life took her between Chicago and Florida, but she eventually settled in Tallahassee, where she would spend the rest of her life. From a young age, Maya was always drawn to the spotlight. She loved to create content, whether it was for fun or for income. Her social media pages, especially on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, were filled with humor, motivation, and joy. She became known for her contagious energy and radiant smile. But Maya didn't just entertain online. She worked hard in the real world. She sold menswear, held down multiple jobs, was a licensed traveling lash technician. Her entrepreneurial drive kept her busy, but never too busy for what mattered most to her, her family. In 2018, Maya gave birth to her first son, Caden. A year later, she welcomed DJ. Although she had initial doubts during her 2nd pregnancy, she ultimately embraced motherhood wholeheartedly. Her love for her boys ran deep, and she often posted about their bond. She wanted to be their safe space, their #1 protector. It was a role she cherished more than any job or business. Maya had been in a relationship before, but it was short-lived. She walked away from it with her sons and a desire to build a better life for them. Then came Jakari Martin. Maya met Jakari 3 years before her death. He was 22 years old and worked in a warehouse. At first, he seemed to mirror Maya's ambition and drive. Their romance blossomed quickly. Before long, they moved into a house together on River Breeze Lane in North Leon County, Tallahassee. But as their relationship progressed, the picture-perfect image began to crack. Maya's social media, once a vibrant scrapbook of her life, never featured Jakari. He was conspicuously absent. While she never named him directly, her posts became increasingly vague and emotionally charged. She hinted at betrayal, frustration, and even fear. "I don't know who to slap." In one post, she admitted to checking his phone. She found things she didn't like, especially involving other women. Her sister would later confirm that this wasn't the first time Jakari's actions had caused tension. These weren't simple arguments. They included physical altercations. Jakari had choked her in the past. Maya had once hidden in the kitchen to escape him. Their relationship was toxic and volatile. Despite the growing turmoil, Maya found out she was pregnant again in mid-2024. She was flooded with anxiety. Though she loved her children, she questioned whether Jakari was someone she could safely raise another child with. On October 21st, just a day before her death, Maya made it clear both to herself and online that she didn't want to continue the pregnancy. She visited Planned Parenthood and posted that she was done having kids. But fate and Jakari had something else in store. On October 22nd, the couple's ongoing tension came to a head. Maya was already on edge when she saw a notification on her phone. It was Jakari liking a bikini photo of his ex-girlfriend. That was the last straw. When Jakari returned home, Maya confronted him. She demanded to know why he had liked the photo. He downplayed it. "It's just a like," he told her. But for Maya, it wasn't just a like. It was a sign of ongoing disrespect. This wasn't the first time they'd had issues involving the same woman. Her rage boiled over. They argued, shouting, moving from room to room, the kids nearby. Maya texted her sister during the fight, venting that they were arguing again, this time over the same woman. But she wasn't backing down. She wanted answers, and her phone back. Eventually, their shouting led them into the kitchen. Neighbors would later recall the loud voices, the sound of objects being thrown, and then silence, followed by a single deafening gunshot. Maya Johnson fell to the floor. She was gone. Jakari called 911, his voice frantic. He told dispatch that his girlfriend had been shot and begged for help. He told Maya's kids to go to their rooms. When responders arrived, Maya and Jakari weren't there. He had driven her to Tallahassee Medical Care. But it was too late. Maya Johnson, along with her unborn child, was declared dead on arrival. This was no longer just a domestic dispute. It was a crime scene, and the beginning of an investigation that would expose the full horror of what had been going on behind closed doors. Tallahassee police arrived at the hospital shortly after 1 on October 23rd. Officers quickly took Jakari Martin into custody, detaining him as the only witness and prime suspect in what was now a homicide case. At first glance, Jakari seemed grief-stricken. He cried. He expressed shock. He claimed that the shooting had been a horrible accident, but the officers weren't convinced. His story, though emotional, had inconsistencies. Detectives immediately began gathering evidence. Their first task was to process the house where the shooting occurred. When they entered the house, what they found aligned with what neighbors had reported: signs of a loud, chaotic struggle. Items were scattered throughout the kitchen. There were marks and bruises forming a trail of physical confrontation. Detectives brought Jakari in for questioning. It was there that he offered his version of events. According to Jakari, the argument started after Maya discovered that he had liked a photo on social media, specifically a bikini picture posted by his ex. She confronted him. He admitted he liked the picture, but insisted it was meaningless. He said she didn't believe him and started checking his phone. In retaliation, he took her phone and hid it. He wanted to leave to cool off, but Maya followed him, yelling and trying to get her phone back. Jakari claimed that Maya hit him several times. He said he pinned her down on the bed to stop her from attacking him. When she complained she couldn't breathe, he released her. But it didn't stop there. Information about the deadly shooting of a pregnant woman in Tallahassee. Jakari Martin told investigators that he and Maya Johnson were arguing at their home on River Breeze Lane. He said he grabbed some of his belongings and was trying to leave when the gun went off. He claims the gun was not in his hand, but pinned against his body. According to his account, the argument moved to the kitchen, where Maya threw objects at him. She continued to demand her phone back, believing he had it in his pocket. That's when he claimed he grabbed his gun, not to use it, but to scare her into backing off. He placed it under his arm, he said, while trying to leave. Then the unthinkable happened. The gun accidentally went off. Maya Johnson was shot in front of her children. The bullet pierced her body and she collapsed. That was his story. Detectives listened. But red flags began to rise. His demonstration of how the gun was held didn't make sense. Using a toy replica of the weapon, Jakari showed them how the gun was supposedly tucked under his arm. but the angle made it virtually impossible for the trigger to be pulled accidentally. More troubling was the autopsy report and ballistic evidence. Forensic experts found that the angle of the bullet's trajectory didn't match his description. Maya, at 5 feet 4 inches, would not have been in the position he claimed she was standing in when the shot was fired. In fact, the bullet suggested she had been standing much farther back. Detectives then examined the gun. The weapon had no mechanical issues. The chamber held a live round. There was no obstruction. This contradicted the idea that the gun had misfired due to being compressed under his arm. Even more damning, Jakari had no physical injuries. If the gun had discharged as he claimed, the hot casing should have hit his skin, leaving a burn or abrasion. There was nothing. No marks, no bruises, no injuries consistent with his story. Meanwhile, detectives canvassed the neighborhood and spoke with witnesses. Neighbors described frequent fights between the couple. One said you could practically set your watch by how often they argued on the weekends. Loud voices, slamming doors, crying children were common. Officers pulled up past records. Police had responded to the residents twice in the previous 6 months. On one occasion, they arrived during a domestic disturbance. Maya and Jakari were arguing, and officers could hear Jakari yelling at her for not trusting him. They hadn't made any arrests then. Now, many on the force regretted that decision. As detectives connected the dots, a clearer picture began to emerge. This was not a one-time event. It was a pattern of emotional and physical abuse. When confronted again, Jakari admitted to more than what he had first revealed. He confessed that during previous fights, he had choked Maya. She had once hidden in the kitchen to escape him.
Information about the deadly shooting of a pregnant woman in Tallahassee yesterday. Jakari Martin Chagrin told investigators that he and Maya Johnson were arguing at their home on River Breeze Lane. He said he grabbed some of his belongings and was trying to leave when the gun went off. He claims the gun was not in his hand, but pinned against his body. The gunshot killed Johnson and her unborn child.
The violence wasn't new. It was just escalating. To solidify their case, police spoke with the only other witnesses, Maya's 2 young sons. While it was unclear whether they had seen the shooting with their own eyes, both boys confirmed one devastating truth. Jakari had shot their mother. On October 27, 2024, after reviewing all the evidence, police formally arrested Jakari Martin. He was charged with 2 counts of manslaughter for the death of Maya Johnson and her unborn child, and 2 counts of possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. He entered a plea of not guilty. At the bail hearing, the judge denied his release, citing the seriousness of the crime and the potential risk to public safety. The trial began in early 2025. The courtroom was filled with tension from the first day. Maya Johnson's family sat in the front row wearing shirts emblazoned with her image. They had one goal: justice. The prosecution focused on the facts. They walked the jury through the timeline, highlighted Jakari's history of abuse, and presented expert testimony from forensic analysts who tore apart his version of events. The trajectory of the bullet, the absence of physical injuries, the unlikelihood of an accidental discharge, all pointed to one conclusion. This was no accident. Ultimately, the jury found Jakari Martin guilty of both counts of manslaughter and unlawful possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. During sentencing, the judge didn't mince words. Calling the killing a culmination of unchecked abuse, he sentenced Jakari to 38 years in prison, 20 years for Maya's death, 15 for the death of the unborn child, and 3 for the weapons charges. Outside the courthouse, Maya's family cried and embraced. Justice, though painful, had finally been served. In the weeks following the verdict, the community rallied around the Johnson family. A candlelight vigil was held in Maya's honor, drawing hundreds of mourners. Family, friends, and even strangers came forward to share stories of her bright personality and unwavering strength. Her funeral was filled with pink roses, her favorite color, and pictures of her smiling, always with her sons. A GoFundMe started by her sister raised over $87,000 in a matter of days. Every dollar was placed in a trust fund for her sons, Caden and DJ, ensuring their futures would be protected even without their mother. Our deepest condolences go out to Maya's family, to Caden and DJ, and to everyone who loved her. May her memory be a blessing. May her story push us to recognize the warning signs of domestic violence before it's too late. And may we never forget that control, jealousy, and isolation are just as dangerous as physical violence. Rest in peace, Maya Johnson. Your boys will know how much you love them. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, share it. Let people know that Maya's life mattered. Hit that subscribe button for daily true crime content that demands accountability. What do you think could have been done to save Maya? Should police have done more during those earlier domestic calls? Let us know in the comments below. Stay safe out there. See you in the next one.